This is the Aftermarket Radio Network. Hey everybody, Carm Capriotto here. You know, I appreciate and love branding. I love marketing. I love the geniuses that get us to buy stuff. And when we look at their logos, it just sometimes says professional, and it makes me want to, trust these people. Let's talk about that today. Hey, Carm here. Join Tracy and I for the 45th Annual Max Training Event and Trade Show, the must-attend event for mobile AC and cooling professionals. It'll be January 30th through February 1st, 2025. It'll be at the Rosen Center Hotel in Orlando, Florida. There's going to be exhibitor booths, and there's still some available, by the way. Lots of great training, so don't miss out. Register today at maxmobileairclimate.org. That's maxmobileairclimate.org. We're going to be there doing some episodes and moderating a town hall panel with Donnie Cipher. Hope to see you there at the MAX conference. NAPA Tracks will move your shop into the SMS fast lane with on-site training and 6-day-a-week support. Also, I think the biggest thing is the local representation. Are you kidding me? NAPA Tracks on the web at napatracs.com. Are you ready to roll out a training plan for your automotive shop? Ready to optimize? We'll use today's class in just 5 minutes daily, boost knowledge, retention, and improve team performance. Start seeing results today. Great gamification programs here to challenge all your people. Join your peers at todaysclass.com. Who's my panel?
We're here.
We're here. Hi.
Oh, my. Andy Bizub. Everybody knows Andy, CEO, Midwest Performance Cars in Chicago, 3 locations, Chicago, Northbrook, Westmont. Great contributor to the show. Thank you so much for being here, Andy. And Pam Esposito is here, founder of Pam Esposito Design. Unbelievable background, award-winning, 25 years in. She looks like a teenager. Look, see?
Love you.
See? That's her branding. That's her branding. That's her look. And she worked with Andy to freshen, to upgrade, to, drill some pretty powerful dynamics into his brand. And of course, everybody thinks of why should we rebrand? Why should we maybe reinvent? Do you do it? Does someone else do it? I'm just been so curious of late. And it was ironic, Andy. You said, you got to meet Pam. She's done some really good stuff for us. And I says, oh my God, I think you just landed in my lap of an idea that I've had for so many professional shops that still have, Larry service out front. God bless a 50-year-old company. But, maybe Larry's service needs some muscle in its look or its brand. Isn't it interesting, the word muscle, Pam?
Well, first off, I think so many people think of branding as it's just this logo. And I try to explain the difference between branding and marketing. So marketing is when we're asking somebody to do an action. And so much, I think, in the automotive world, the thought is market, market, market. And branding is the stuff that pulls on the heartstrings. It's what speaks to the heart. The marketing thing is a component of branding, but I think a lot of people use this word branding incorrectly. So it's not just a logo or fonts or colors. It's actually the strategy that we use to deploy bigger communications that are going to resonate with people. And how do we make somebody a fan of the brand? And that's really what I think is so different. When Andy and I started sort of working together, he had some elements. There was a logo there was some colors there, but how it was maybe being used and the language, how did we get to this communication where I could understand the company culture of MPC and then put those things into action and those words out there with visuals? And then how do we take the brand and not make it stale and let it do things and be different? As we're all different people, not one blanket solution is a magic bullet. We're going to have to talk to a big, wide audience in a lot of different ways. And so when I'm a steward of a brand, I'm in control of that. And I'm able to work with Andy or any other company owner. We're always talking. We're always reevaluating what we do. We don't just have one solution and then just blanket it out there and think that that's going to work.
I find it so interesting, Andy, that she says steward of the brand. And obviously, you've known Pam for a lot of years. You mentioned that. It seems to me that you're entrusting her not with a one-time look-see, but for almost like a longer term commitment.
Yeah. So, it's really interesting to hear her talk about what branding is. I didn't really know it before we started working with Pam. We had been with a couple of, kind of web companies that maintained our website, and they would send a newsletter every once in a while. And that was pretty much it. And Pam really kind of taught me about the importance of having this strong brand and putting it out there and being able to bring our company culture out to potential clients as well as existing clients so that they could, without being actually being in the shop, they got a sense of what we were all about, why we do what we do. And that is all wrapped up in this like magic that she does. Carm, I like to look outside of just the straight automotive industry to bring really other aspects of business into my business. I mean, Pam was, she's super creative. She's worked with musicians in the music industry. She's done all kinds of things. And she has really brought the heat in building our brand and presenting it to, like I said, existing and potential new clients to really kind of tell the story of what we're all about and why we do what we do.
Wow, you couldn't get a better compliment. You brought the heat.
Like I can write a lot of copy, but when Pam comes up with copy, it's just a totally different dimension. It just brings so much more to the table than just, my writing.
And let's go back to the definition. Marketing is the ask and branding is the heart. And I think if we as shop owners in the industry, people that are in charge of some pretty big companies, get that redefined definition that when I market, I'm doing the ask. But when people look at us, is their heart that they see.
That comes through a lot of discovery. I mean, Andy knows, like I put him through his paces with some homework. I don't just walk in there and pretend that I have the magic answer, right? I have to get my clients to do a little bit of work. They have to answer some serious questions. And most people, when they go through, I kind of call it a research and development phase with the designer, they start to realize maybe where their Achilles heels are in their business plans. And that's okay. We need to know honestly, like, what do you got a good handle on? What don't you have a good handle on? And then we reevaluate and think, what are going to be the strongest ways to market and deploy these messages? So again, the branding is talking about a strategy. And then the marketing aspect is, what are we doing with it, right? That's the marketing advertising aspect. So, really good creatives, we work all of these elements kind of simultaneously. And we are always working to keep things fresh. I mean, sometimes Andy and I do a more artistic approach. Sometimes we go for humor. Sometimes we've been doing some things where we were realizing that, he has a lot of really strong female talent, and we wanted to put that forward. Making sure that we are always communicating very transparency and authenticity. We couldn't talk about Andy's shop as this personal service approach if that really wasn't them, right? There can't be a disconnect of what we say in the branding language versus the experience. I spend quite a bit of time trying to understand the experience.
So if you're watching with us on YouTube, Pam did bring us some pictures, and I'm not saying that we're going to show them right now, but just to let you know, of course, you can listen to us on audio, all your favorite podcast listening apps, or on our YouTube channel, the Carm Capriato YouTube channel, to see what she's about ready to show us. But my point about what I'm hearing from you, Pam and Andy, the trend in 2025 from a customer perspective is CX, the client experience, period. And you could call it customer. I love to call it client. It's CX. Everywhere I look, in all the newsletters I subscribe to, CX, CX, CX. Every company needs a CXO, a client experience officer, but you can't have one. But what I'm hearing from Pam is artistic humor, all of that comes out in the brand, and that helps start the CX.
Absolutely. Or even when I create a website, I am thinking about that user's experience as they move through the site. So many things, especially in automotive and real estate, it's sort of this templated system, and everybody's copy is written to a template and jammed in there. And when we really sit back and we reevaluate the copy and what messages do we want to deliver where, we're really looking at that user's experience. And that's what's so different. We're not just trying to take, like I said, a template and jam things in to fit the holes. We're really talking with the business owner and determining what is it we need to communicate? How do we communicate it? How does a user move through that experience? The same thing too, all of this stuff also hinges on consistency. Andy's really good about, we try to be fairly consistent with newsletters. It's not about the sell. I mean, we almost never do promotional stuff via his newsletter. We use that to communicate with the clients in a very clear way. If they've done a promotion with a giving back aspect, we're going to report on it. We're going to share the information. We're always trying to just build that sense of security, trust, expertise, and that you feel that you're dealing with something very authentic.
Andy, I love the word she just used called report. That was really impactful on my think here, Pam, as I'm hearing you talk. We're going to report on it. And if you're a shop owner, I don't care, pick the industry, and you're involved with your people, you're involved with the community, you're involved in the neighborhood, which you should be, period, then reporting on that is what the brand building is all about. How's that helped you, Andy?
I'll just give you an example. We just sent out a newsletter this morning, our kind of end of year wrap up, which Pam put together. She wrote up all the copy, and we kind of consult back and forth, and then we get to the final version. But in it, we gave the highlights of 2024. And it's always walking a fine line to me between telling people about the good things that you're doing, trying to avoid making it sound like you're patting yourself on the back. But the way Pam words and presents this, it really reflects the enjoyment, the fun that we have in doing these various things. Like we talked about the toy drive that we just held and all the toys that we raised for donation for the Marine Corps Toys for Tots, and talked about Breaks for Breasts. It wasn't gratuitous. It was just like, we had a wonderful year this year. Here's some of the things that made it so great. And we want you to come and join us on this trip next year. We look forward to seeing you in 2025. And just the way that she's able to creatively present that and tell our story puts us at a completely different level. One of the things before, when we had the old websites, before Pam came on board and started working with us, one of my pet peeves is you go to these, different automotive companies and you see the same images. You see, the nice lady handing her keys to the clean technician and, everybody's smiling, and you go to the next company and it's the same image. And that just tells you it's not authentic. This is a stock photo. We don't have anything like that. Everything that Pam does really tells a story of our business and who we are. And that's there is no irony in that heart behind Pam on her sign, because that's part of what she really brings.
So here's my question about stock photos and web design. Can I go to my web designer, my marketing company, and says, please, you'll never let me look like everyone else in the industry. Please never use stock photos. And they say, so what do we use? Well, come to my place, or I'll hire a photographer to come in and take some pictures. Pam, my question is are we looking for these outrageously high quality background focused stuff, or will the real world pictures of our place suffice?
Well, it depends upon your environment, right? I will say I do use stock imagery, but again, when you have a creative looking at it, we're going to crop it different. We're going to make it feel different. And, we work on continually building a library of assets. Andy's lucky enough that he's got a couple of hobbyist photographers in his staff. These poor guys are busy, and then they get emails from me saying, hey, would you mind doing some candid shots of this or that? And, and I'm like, I'm taking somebody away from their job for a moment and I'm going to get my wrist slapped. But, we have to have assets, right? And I've worked with these guys a lot too, to where I am helping educate them about how to take photos and saying, hey, here's some samples to look at. Watch what people are wearing. Don't get all these logos in the background. Don't do this. Don't do that. So, and again, like I said, I have another client in another area of the country, and he's kind of going through that growing pain right now, right? They also have an expansion, and they don't have a lot of great assets. So I do use more stock imagery, but I'm not looking at like auto stock images, right? I may be concentrating on things that reveal lifestyle more and tell different kinds of stories. So it's not all just pictures of cars, pictures of cars, pictures of cars. And I think if you want to call up some work slides, you'll start to see this in these approaches.
Let's face it, your shop management system is the single most important tool in your shop, period. NAPA Tracks was built from the ground up to make your business more profitable and efficient. We provide an extensive set of tools to increase and track profitability in real time. NAPA Tracks offers the industry's best post-sale support, hands down, and we train your people on site. Yep, on site. And we offer remote refresher training 10 times a week, and customer support is open 6 days a week. Give us a call, visit the website, or join our Facebook community today to learn more. We'll prove to you that Tracks is the single best shop management system in the business. NAPA Tracks is always customized and tailored for you, whether you're a one-man shop or a large multi-bay or multi-location company. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice. Visit us on the web at NAPATRACS, that's NAPATRACS.com. Strengthen your shop's entire team with today's class. Everyone from technicians to service advisors can access impactful training on their phones in just 5 minutes a day. Opt for solo sessions or ignite friendly competition, challenging team members to climb the leaderboard for the highest score. Our effective daily training ensures measurable progress, helping you develop your team. Train smarter, not harder, with today's class and transform your shop and your people. Start seeing results today at todaysclass.com. A comment or two as I continue to listen. I do this. I listen and then I regurgitate. And I think I do it for the sake of my listener because I don't want him to miss a thing. When I heard the no bragging, I loved that part in the newsletter. And then I wrote down the words objective journalism. And if you approach writing the article about your work with, Toys for Tots, about your work with Breaks for Breast as an objective journalist, it doesn't sound like Andy's smushing all over himself. Sometimes you want to put a lot of you in your articles, but maybe it's about them, not about you. It's just my mind thought, and I'm not an expert. I love to hear that and to allow us to all rethink, not to brag, but to tell the story.
I think it's about communicating in a more conversational manner where somebody feels like it's a conversation and not like corporate speak. I think that's what's very different as well.
I love that. Want to show a picture? All right, we'll show your first picture here. What are we seeing?
So, this is pretty much us following the basic brand. Up in the right corner, you can kind of see a little mock-up of the website. So if you haven't gone to MPC's website, MidwestPerformanceCars.com, it's a mouthful, but it's a super efficient site. Not a lot of extra information. It moves really well. You can see, okay, there's lots of cars there. And then other pages, you would see how stock photos are utilized. This program right here, and you can see how we bounce back and forth. And then sometimes there's a more artistic approach, like maintenance and repair ad. It was fun. There was like a series of 4 of those where it kind of just went more artistic. And, Andy's always been really flexible about us walking that fine line of more technical hitting advertisement and more creative approaches. They catch a different audience.
My eyes, when I'm looking at the bottom right-hand corner, it looks like my eyes would have caught that ad, Andy, owning a Porsche or not. And there's not a lot of words that would force me to skip the page. Wait, I'll spend a few moments with this.
Right. So that is in the local Porsche Club of America, the Chicago Region magazine that we're a regular advertiser in. And there, as you would expect, there are about 20 other shops, Porsche specialty shops that advertise in that magazine. So what is going to make us stand out and come off the page and speak to the potential or the existing client over and above everyone else? Our ads look very different from everyone else in the magazine, and we consistently get compliments on our visuals that we submit to that magazine. And so in even really simple stuff where, Pam, we would look at a mailer, like kind of your typical automotive shop mail, direct mail piece.
Is that would be on left-hand side?
Yeah. So that's what Pam designed for us. but how she would pick out, kind of your more, typical mailer and see that they use like 5 different fonts and it's just a mess and your eye is not drawn to anything in particular. And it makes you physically ill because there's so much stuff going on. And how Pam is able to really present a very clean and efficient message in those in both the advertising and the direct mail and the website.
And I will tell you, direct mail cards are incredibly effective. They're not so much like, oh, I can measure this data, right? Because first of all, just the staying power, if somebody carries it from the mailing box to the trash can, is 100 times more effective than your social media post, right? Your social media post has got less than a 1.5 second view time, right? The physicality of even somebody throwing that other thing out imprints on your brain so much more. So, they are really effective. And then also it's a learned thing when people kind of see them consistently over time. Then when an issue comes up, then they're like, oh yeah, those guys. You can't really measure the success on, we put this many out and we only got 5 into the shop. Well, you might not know the response time on your advertising programs for months, even a year. And then what if your neighbor got it and told somebody else, right? Because word of mouth is so huge. And then, what is the accumulation of service? Like once you get that person in the door, if they've had a great experience and they stay with you for 10 years, when people are worried about the instant return on an advertisement investment. And I really urge people to kind of put that thinking to the side and realize that it takes time.
Yeah, what I'm hearing Pam say is they have legs, and those legs are perpetually running for you. Let's be clear. Andy is a Euro shop, and you'll see a lot of stuff that looks pretty good to, want to bring in the BMW, the Audi, the Porsche customer. But please, all makes and all models, man, you can find the brand that says, we're solid with you name it from A to Z. We can work on that stuff. It's a great template to show what Andy's doing. But please, well, Andy's Euro and I can't do this. No.
I have another client who is exactly what you just described. All makes, all models. And I always kind of make the joke that it's like, if it has wheels and an engine, he probably fixes it, right? The philosophy and the approach is very different than Andy's. We kind of go more with this, like we're your local shop. And how we work with this education of trust us, you don't have to take a car to a dealership. And then also, again, you guys spend so much money with training and hiring great people. We don't want to diminish that by not creating visuals in language that doesn't match it.
Got it. Let's look at the next one. What do we got here?
Well, here's a whole bunch of advertising for Northbrook, and we're playing with the brand, right? Always making something that's eye-catching. I'm not concerned with that shield always has to be in these specific colors, and that's the only way it can ever be used. We aren't disrupting the mark necessarily, but we're allowing it some legs, right? We're letting it do some stuff. And you can see there's a mix of stock photos, but how many automotive shops are going to put an ice cream cone on their front?
I love it. I mean, ice cream can solve a lot of life's problems, but your vehicle's air conditioning system is not one of them. I mean, I love it, Andy. And to your point, you get a chance to see an orangey looking, let me see, what color was that? An orangey gray, a pink one here for Brakes for Breast is an example. And you're looking at that and says, I know that's Midwest, but what's going on there?
Yeah, these are just really strong visual components. And to me, when I see things like that, that's the kind of thing that people aren't going to take it and just toss it in the circular bin, right? That's really draws people. It's a total keeper.
It's a keeper. I got to know. There's an I got to know moment that happens when a piece comes by your desk that doesn't look like the one from last month.
Right.
Yeah.
And doesn't look like anyone else's.
And no one else's. Wow.
And if you notice, there's only one of these cards that talks anything about a deal. There's one that says 10% off going into the new year for the new year. Everything else is just about a time of the year, a different theme, but there's no coupons, there's no discounts. It's just telling the story of what it's getting the message that we want to get across, not pitching to, oh, you can save some money.
Sometimes the communication is about education and awareness. not always the discount. So, I always use the cosmetic industry as a great example of an industry that sort of ate itself, right? They gift with purchase. So women just go around every counter. They have no store loyalty. They might have a bit of a brand loyalty because they're a user of it, but the store loyalty is not there. It's because they're just going to jump from promotion to promotion to promotion. So, we have a lot of discussions with clients. Is that the business you want to be in? Or do you want to work smarter and not harder? So that usually comes with that mix where sometimes, you put a promotion out, right? Are we trying to get a little wider audience, but then also making sure that we educate the audience that it is about the service level and in the quality of the work and the fair pricing. We don't need to play a discounting game.
Wow. You know what I love about what Pam just said, and it got me to think about, use the promo code by December 31st. And it says, oh my God, I really love that product. And you go online because you do some searching because you forgot to write anything down and you're ready to buy and you say, oh, damn. So you don't, and you wait for the next commercial or you search online to try to find something. And it almost makes it difficult to do business with because you've set the tone. Never buy unless you got a promo code. I never thought of the cosmetic industry. Buy this, get a purse. I never thought of that.
So one of the things I always think about, let's say you send out a mailer and you have a coupon or for an oil change special, whatever you're going to do. Every person that in the last 6 to 8 weeks on your contact list that went in for an oil change, you're going to tick them off. They're going to be like, darn it, right? I didn't know there was a special coming up. So I think there's a lot of advertising for the exact thing that you don't want in our industry.
Yeah, put yourself in the place of the consumer. And did you ever have an attitude like that you missed a sale, you missed a deal? They're giving away oil changes here for $19.99. What the hell's going on at MPC? What happened? I mean, did they need clients that bad? I was there just 3-4 weeks ago, and that didn't happen to me. Hey, let's look at another picture. Explain this one to me, Pam.
Oh, so this was a piece done for Westmont because Andy's got 3 locations and they're all slightly different, right? They're a little bit of a different customer, even though we're talking this Euro market. And again, we just sort of played and brought this fun green into a springtime mailer. Again, here where we try to have some amusement with the PCA magazine. I really wanted to put a good place to take a leak ad in here because that one always gets a good chuckle. But, again, like I said, I sent that one over to Andy and I thought, uh-oh. And he was like, that's hilarious. Like I said, sometimes I'll send something over and I'm sitting there with fingers crossed going, okay, am I crossing a bridge too far? And that's totally fine, right? We got to take a risk now and then and make a decision of, are we going too far in one direction or another? I think when I first did this ad, I was like, I don't know, maybe I was drinking at my computer because I really picked some typeface that you just couldn't read. And Andy was like, I can't read that. And I looked at it again and I was like, dude, you're right. It's always a back and forth. It's always a collaboration.
Yeah, I love the dog. I mean, just by looking at that picture and seeing an animal is like, are you kidding me? That's an eye grabber right there. That's an eye grabber. Love that. Final picture we're going to show. Look at this. Oh, thank you for doing this Breaks for Breast thing, Andy. That is just, it's a phenomenal picture there.
Yeah.
And again, that's all stock imagery, but it's how it's used, how it's cropped, and it, not just using one solo image there to tell a story, right? Really. And again, picking photos of empowerment, that showing the coming out with great results and the need for this continuation of research and development.
The entire piece is themed in pink. Incredible. Now, on the right-hand side, was that a stock photo or is that something one of your guys took, Andy?
No, that's one of our service advisors at our Chicago location. That was part of a theme that I had asked Pam to kind of work on for this particular ad. I wanted to kind of highlight our really talented female members of our crews. And I think she captured it really well there.
And again, another ad from the Porsche magazine, right?
Yes.
That's a sharp ad. I like what it says to me. There's action, there's branding, there's confidence, there's trust. I mean, the smile's perfect. The open door is, it says so much.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there that you don't below the surface.
Nice job, Pam.
Oh, well, thank you. I have a great client to work with, so it's fun.
I can admit, Andy, I need a picture like this. Give me one, right? Because you come up with the idea, Pam. It says, I'm sure you've got all these stocks that come back from the pictures that have been taken, and you look at them and bam, something hits you. The wording for the ad hits you, the imagery, the cropping, and what you can do to adjust lighting and stuff. Oof. This is branding on steroids, Andy, in my opinion. I think you're doing an incredible job.
She consistently amazes me with just the creativity level. I don't think I'm that creative. I'm good at following directions, so.
Now, Pam, you teach, right?
I do. About 3.5 years ago, I took over the graphic design department at Nashville State. Kind of walked into just an incredible hot mess. I think when I decided to do this, I just thought I'd walk in and sort of teach some classes and that would be it. And then I got there and realized nobody was learning anything essential about design. And I was very fortunate at the time the dean who hired me, and I showed her what courses looked like. And she just looked at me and said, burn it down. They trusted me to do this. And I will say the first 2 years were rough. I had students thinking I was the devil. But, we have almost 100% placement rate coming out of our program, and this is an AAS degree, a 2-year program. So it's really about, efficiency and training people for the profession. And that's not based on learning software. It's how do you work with somebody like myself, who's a 30-year creative? What information can I deploy and bring into this environment? Every class is more like a studio. They're in there, they're working. I always tell them that this is not a hamburger type critique. I'm not going to give you a big fluffy compliment and then a tiny slice of truth and another big fluffy compliment. Design doesn't work that way. I'm going to tell you what's not working, why it's not working, and go fix it. And so it's just very different. And so I treat them and respect them as they're creatives from the minute they walk into my program. Can they cut it? Can they really do what they need to do?
Yeah, I find it fascinating, Andy, to hear what you just said, to push an individual to find the creative that's inside. I guess they wouldn't have come to the school, taken that course, that class, if they didn't feel something. And your job is to pull it out of them.
Absolutely.
Do you ever give your students any challenges of client work that you're working on?
Not in my personal work, because that would be a conflict. But I bring them a real client in their second year studies, and they have to go through the same kind of branding questions and process and really show them how that is done. And, there's so much, like I said, where design has been thought of as a service and not as a creative thing. And it's not just about picking fonts and picking this and picking that. Again, it goes back to this strategy. And how do you educate people so they understand this? And not everybody can do it. Everybody can use the software. It's like I said, just because I have tools in the trunk of my Camaro does not mean I should go open up that engine compartment and do anything with it, right? I'm not qualified. Just because somebody has a computer and the programs does not mean they are qualified as a designer.
There's a picture, Andy. There's a picture of somebody taking a little mini toolbox out of the trunk of their Porsche.
We deal with some DIY issues a lot.
And the answer is, just because you have this box of tools doesn't mean, and ...
Yeah, we have one in the shop right now.
We're going to have to do that as an ad one of these days, Andy.
And right next to it is the ad for the water leak in the kitchen. And just because you have a wrench doesn't mean ... There's a comparative. Sometimes we jump into things we think we can get away with, or we think it's going to be simple down the road, and it ends up becoming a nightmare.
And I think that's the thing in our industry is, that a lot of owners just think, well, get any, template web company to make your website and, they'll crank out some ads, and they just view it as just another vendor. And for the branding and presenting yourself, putting yourself out there to the public, it's not just another vendor.
And you know what? Don't ask me why I just thought of the 2 letters called AI, but I am telling you that I think that's going to be a factor for all of us in the future. Pam, no doubt for you, maybe you can use that for direction and or content, but I think people are going to be doing a little DIY AI someday.
AI is a light bright for bad ideas, and that's why I love it. It is hysterical to play with it in a brainstorming capacity because it is not going to make the same leaps that your head naturally does. So I think it's fun and fascinating from that standpoint. But I have actually had a couple of people approach me and say, oh, I went in and I kind of did this AI concept for a logo. What do you think of it? And it's hysterical. But again, not everybody understands good design. That's just always a battle with creatives is we spend a lot of our time trying to educate people what good design is versus bad design. Even with my students and when they're starting out, they don't have any reference of good designers and what that work is. And one of the first things I'll say is bring me in 10 examples of good design, bring me 10 examples of bad design. And then we have conversations based upon that. And so, like I said, even like what Andy was saying, like these templated solutions. And so when you're really working with top level creatives, we are a part of your business. We're invested in your business. We are a partner. We're not just a fulfillment service. I have to be talking to Andy and to his team and understanding what their needs are. And those things change.
Can a top shop, Andy, afford this support?
Good design is super important, but it's not as expensive as you think.
Is that out of reach?
No, not at all. Something about what Pam and you were just saying, people who are seeing our advertisements and seeing our website and experiencing this and getting our newsletter, you don't need to know about design to know when you see good design and when you see bad design, because it hits you at a guttural level. You might not know anything about the aspects of design, but when you see something that's well designed, you know it. And when you see a Pontiac Aztec, you know that was bad design. When you see a classic Porsche 911, you see that that's good design, and you don't need to know anything about cars to know that.
I think too, once you've experienced quality, you don't go back. That's a very defining moment. And, and people are already, shops are spending money already. Advertising, doing these things.
Reallocation, I call it. Just reallocate where some of the money is going into building heart. Heart, that's your brand. Your marketing is your ask.
And the quality.
And of course, it's the quality. This was great. Thank you. I learned a lot. I had a lot of fun deep down inside the mind of Pam Esposito from Pam Esposito Design. And of course, our great friend, Andy Bizub from Midwest Performance Car, to be able to share some of the stuff that you're putting out there to help build such a great, strong brand in Chicago. Thank you all so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for this opportunity and letting me talk to you guys and everybody else out there. Thank you so much.
It was great. Thanks, Pam.
Thanks for being on board to listen and learn from the premier automotive aftermarket podcast. Until next time.